President al-Assad tells the Turkish Cumhuriyet daily that the crisis in Syria is mostly external, and the evidence is the presence of Arab fighters and Islamist extremists. President al-Assad affirms it is the state's duty to chase and kill the terrorists because they commit massacres against civilians. President al-Assad stresses the importance of the social and moral role of the religious establishment in confronting extremist ideas. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our news for today. In the third part of the interview with His Excellency by the Turkish Cumhuriyet daily, President al-Assad said the crisis in Syria is mostly external, and the evidence is the presence of Arab fighters and Islamist extremists who are fighting in Syria now, in addition to sophisticated weapons and funds that are being smuggled across borders from abroad.
In the third part of His Excellency's interview with the Turkish Cumhuriyet daily, President al-Assad said the crisis in Syria is mostly external. In reply to a question that some believe that the Syrian regime is committing mistakes, President al-Assad said there are real examples from the region which testify to the inability of any state, regardless of its power, to stand in the face of the people's will. The president added that the events in Syria started 15 months ago, and it has been quite clear now that the crisis is mostly external. The evidence is the presence of Arab fighters and Islamist extremists who are fighting in Syria now. Moreover, there are sophisticated weapons that are being smuggled across borders, in addition to funds that keep pouring from abroad, the president added. President al-Assad pointed out that a revolution cannot be a revolution of gangs. It must be a revolution of a people. He stressed that what is happening now is chasing the terrorists who are committing massacres against civilians, and this is the state's duty. President al-Assad referred to the way justifications are given to Turkey's military operations in northern Iraq and inside Turkey under the title Combating Terrorism. His Excellency wondered why anyone hasn't said that the Turkish government was killing its people. This is double standard, the president added. On dealing with the crisis at its beginning, President al-Assad said in every action there is a percentage of mistake, but we must distinguish between the mistakes committed inside Syria and the external factors. The president explained that the scheme against Syria has gone through 3 phases. The first phase was that of demonstrations, the major part of which was paid for. This phase failed. Then they moved to create areas in Syria that were put under the control of the armed gangs. The army foiled this attempt that continued until last March. Then they moved to perpetrate assassination operations and commit massacres against citizens, in addition to attacking state institutions with explosives. In reply to a question that the UN Human Rights Council has held the Syrian army mostly responsible for what is happening in Syria, President al-Assad said it is known to all that international institutions are under American and Western domination. It would be stupid to consider statements by international organizations as a reference for reality on the ground. They only express the balance of international powers.
President Bashar al-Assad received the directors of religious endowments and the governorates. The president expressed appreciation for the constructive role of the clerics during the exceptional circumstances of the country. He stressed the importance of the social and moral role of the religious establishment, including the consolidation of awareness and commitment to the essence of religion, including forgiveness and denial of extremism. The directors briefed the president on the difficulties facing their work. The President stressed the necessity of cooperation between the Ministry and other departments and bodies of the state in order to overcome these difficulties. He pointed out that priority should be given to the social questions. The directors expressed confidence that the Syrian community is capable of overcoming the current crisis and foiling all attempts to divide our society, which clings to our unity and immunity against any foreign factors. In a desperate attempt to use instigation against the state and the homeland, some wrongdoers wrote on walls of some neighborhoods sentences and phrases which are blasphemous and insult Islam and divinity. Competent authorities, in cooperation with local residents, deleted these phrases and chased the perpetrators. Competent authorities today stormed into terrorists' hideouts in Jisr al-Daf in Al-Qasir neighborhood in Homs suburbs, scoring direct hits and capturing several terrorists. Major General Robert Mood, head of the United Nations Supervision Mission in Syria, stressed that the mission is working to integrate its teams on the ground, deployed in 8 sites in different Syrian cities in order to offer better support for the Syrian people. Mood also stressed the commitment of the UN to the safety and security of the Syrian people, adding that Geneva meeting was very important as to pave the way for reaching a peaceful solution to the crisis in Syria. He stressed that halting violence in Syria is the most important issue for the time being, adding that no matter what type of decision is to be taken by the Security Council in the upcoming days, the international community shoulders a political and moral responsibility to find a peaceful solution to the crisis in Syria through political dialogue. The Russian Foreign Ministry has considered as crucial the halt of violence in Syria on the basis of Annan's plan in order to protect Russian and other citizens in the country. The Russian Foreign Ministry Commissioner for Human Rights and Democracy Affairs, Konstantin Dogolov, said in a press conference that ending violence and starting dialogue is the best way to protect Russian citizens and the citizens of other countries in Syria. He hoped this would be the goal of international partners. The Russian Foreign Ministry spokesman Alexander Lukashevich had earlier voiced his country's belief in the importance of the cooperation to unify its ranks, adding that Russia was ready to continue its contacts with the opposition and the Syrian authorities to initiate a political process in Syria. Commenting on the situation in the Syrian city of Homs, he criticized as unacceptable the use of innocent civilians as human shields. China stressed that it will not attend the forthcoming meeting of the so-called Friends of Syria in Paris next Friday. The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Liu Weimin was quoted by Xinhua news agency as saying in a press conference in Beijing that China believes that the urgent task is to implement the outcome of the Geneva meeting on Syria. Liu's remarks came after Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov announced on Tuesday that Russia would not attend the meeting to be held in Paris this week. China and Russia did not attend Friends of Syria meetings held in Tunisia in February and Turkey in April. The Swiss government said today that it is freezing exports of weapons to United Arab Emirates following news reports about Swiss-made hand grenades shipped to the United Arab Emirates being found in Syria. Earlier, the Swiss authorities announced that they were investigating reports published in a Swiss paper about Swiss bombs used by the terrorist gangs in Syria. The Swiss authorities said that the initial outcome of the investigation showed that the hand grenade found by a reporter of the paper towards the end of last June came from a shipment that was delivered by the ROG Group of Switzerland to the United Arab Emirates in 2003. With this, we end our news bulletin for today. For more information about Syria and the region, you can visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Up next, the latest business.